What up, guys? Welcome to the Son of Wonder. 65 has dropped in theaters, so let's conversationalize. Alright, guys, so there have been a lot of movies to come out in the past year, and not a lot of them have been good. So I've really been hoping for at least one of the movies to come out this year, to come out soon, to be at least solid. And this movie was solid. If you watched my out-of-theater reaction, you know that I really enjoyed it. And, it didn't really blow me away, but that's okay. It was still a great, like I said, solid, good movie. This is the first anything I reviewed on the channel that's not DC, Star Wars, or Marvel, so that's another reason that it's important to me. And again, I think this is a great entry for this year. It's got suspense. They nail the tension. I missed my finger there. It's got emotion. It's like all wrapped up in a bundle, and they don't overly complicate it. They just have a simple enough story to run through the movie. So for start to finish, you just have a solid film. But I'll start with the general story and when I think of it. Then I'll go into the cool dinosaur thrills, because let's be honest, that's why anybody would watch this movie, is just to watch Adam Driver shoot at dinosaurs with a laser gun. There you go. Then I'll go into the more emotional parts and why it all works together. So, starting with the overall story, Adam Driver plays this space captain named Mills, who has a daughter who unfortunately has a disease, and he needs to go do his space missions, his space explorations, and take passengers through space to help get the stuff he needs to help treat her illness. And during one of these voyages, which we learn later has taken place apparently a few years after he left originally, asteroids come in and damage the ship, cause it to crash land on Earth 65 million years ago, Earth. So it's a planet full of dinosaurs. He appears to be the only survivor. He finds this one other girl, a 9-year-old girl that survived, and he has to help her get back home, because they are technically aliens to us. They're from a planet called Samaris. So now, to be clear, I'm a Christian. I don't believe in the 65 million stuff. I believe in a young Earth. I believe that God created the universe. Bottom line, I don't buy that a dot exploded and all of this is just here for no reason. God created the Earth. So I don't buy that general premise. And I also don't buy a meteor crashing into the Earth and making the dinosaurs extinct. But it does not in any way deter my enjoyment from this movie, because I can treat it just like I treat any other movie. None of it's real, none of it actually happened. So that's just the way I treat it, and so I can just get by. I don't actually believe in it, but I can still enjoy the movie nonetheless. So just disclaimer. But that's the general story of the movie. So to get into the dinosaur thrills, because basically the movie could be just summed up in Adam Driver's character Mills has to take the girl character named Koa to this part of the ship that can still take them back home. Basically, that's the summary of the movie. But as far as all the dinosaur thrills, all the suspense, all the action, I thought it was really well done. And you could say that this movie is very tropey. There's a lot of predictability here. But there's also a few moments that I found kind of unpredictable, that I wasn't sure what was going to happen. They also find a way to incorporate humor in some scenes that I think feels natural and doesn't feel entirely forced into the scene to just make you roll your eyes. Like a certain movie called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Yikes. But this movie does it well, and it has a lot of nice jump scares. Like the first one is some dinosaur comes out of nowhere as Mills is looking over a cliff, trying to get a glance at the part of the ship that he needs to get to. Baby dinosaur just comes out of nowhere and attacks him, and he has to beat it to death with a gun, with his laser gun. So it's just like right out of the gate, you get some awesome, brutal, visceral action there, which is exactly what you would expect from a movie where an astronaut has to take on a bunch of dinosaurs and win. There's also some other great suspenseful moments. There's a moment where Mills climbs a tree to get a better vantage point, and he ends up falling out of the tree and dislocating his arm, and as the girl is trying to help him relocate it, all the dinosaurs then attack. So it builds up the suspense when this main character who's defending this girl is injured, And it does build up that suspense. It does start to make you fearful for the main characters, which is what this kind of movie is supposed to do. There's also the scene that was in the trailer where they're in the cave and the T-Rex appears behind them in the waterfall. That, when I saw the trailer, that scene, I was like, whoa, that's insane. I didn't expect that. And in the movie, it still makes you jump, even though you know that's what's happening because you watched the trailer. It still has that jump feeling. There's a lot of moments in this movie where I specifically, I don't know about anybody else, but I did, where you knew what was going to happen, but it still scared you. And that's good. When a movie can let you know what's going to happen but still scare you, that's pretty cool. Like, dinosaurs will be blending in behind stuff, and you'll know it's them, but it still scares you when you see them, like, fully appear. Like, rah! Like in Jurassic Park. That stuff still got me, even though I knew it was coming. Also, even in that scene in the cave, when they're asleep, some parasite has gotten into the girl's mouth, and Mills is trying to get it, and then as the alarms are going off, the alarms are already going off, he's getting the parasite, then the T-Rex shows up behind him. They already heard some like growling inside this hole inside the cave, and then when the T-Rex shows up and starts to attack them, the girl crawls into the hole that they just heard the growling come out of. So it's like all of these different things happening at the same time. And like I said, great tension building, great suspense building, makes you care even more about the main characters because it's like, if you were in that position, what would you do? That kind of thing. Also, the acting in here is really solid, especially from the girl, and then Adam Driver is great. There's a moment where Adam Driver thinks that the girl has been crushed by like a cave-in, and he just yells and screams like, no, and it's really solid acting. He's a great actor. There's a moment where the girl at the end of the movie realizes that her family is dead, and also really great acting there. Also, an interesting dynamic is that the girl speaks a different language. She's from the same planet, or at least it's assumed that she's from the same planet as Mills, but Mills speaks English, and the girl speaks some other language that he doesn't understand. So there's also that dynamic there. And I like that dynamic that they don't quite understand each other, but they still find a way to get along, and they still have funny moments with each other. So some pretty solid scares, pretty solid action. It ends with like a three-way T-Rex fight between Mills and the T-Rexes at the end of the movie. The girl helps out a little bit, so that's really neat. Last thrill suspense scene to talk about in here is when Mills is by himself in the cave after he and the girl have gotten separated. There's a dinosaur that you already saw following behind them in the cave that hasn't appeared yet, and he knows something is there. So he's looking at this black entryway of the cave, and there's this water at the bottom, and you just see one ripple in the water. So you think that's where the dinosaur is. And he has this like cool futuristic-y device that's like a proximity sensor that can show you how close something is to you. So it like puts up these holograms of you and whatever you're with. And so it puts up the hologram, and it shows him in the cave, and then something slowly starts to appear in the hologram that's behind him, and then you see the breath of the dinosaur against his neck behind him, and you can visibly see his heart rate go up, so he tries to fight it, and it knocks away his gun, and like the dinosaur's trying to tackle him, and he's having to fend him off and punch it. And it's cool because there's one moment where the camera goes from the actual fight to the hologram device that's been dropped, still showing the fight taking place in real time. So that was a really neat trick. That was something that I felt like I hadn't seen before. That was a cool way to use the technology that they had given Mills in this movie and adapt it into a fight scene in a really interesting way, like give you the perspective of the fight from the hologram's angle that just was used to provide the suspense. So really well executed filmmaking there. Now to get to the emotion of the story, the whole heart behind the story basically is Mills's daughter's disease, and more information is revealed about what happened as the movie is taking place, and you realize just how much time passed between the very beginning intro of the movie when he's with his daughter and his wife, and when he's traveling through space before the ship crashes. Apparently, in between those times, his daughter had passed. His daughter had died from the disease, which is why he's defensive about her during the movie, and which is why he also feels this very special need to protect this girl because she reminds him of her. Or at least that's what's implied. That's what's shown without being told. And boy, do I like showing better than telling, because that is such a useful tool in story that they need to use more often. They need to adapt more often. Looking at you, Marvel. But basically, Mills has lost a family member. He's lost his daughter, and he feels guilty because he wasn't there for her. He left so he could provide for her to treat her disease, but she ended up dying anyway, and he feels incredibly guilty about that. And you can tell that, that is affecting him throughout the movie. Likewise, you have this little girl who her parents were on the same ship that crashed with her, because all the passengers were in stasis pods and Mills was piloting, but her parents died because, nobody else survived except the girl. But Mills didn't have the heart to tell her that, so as he was communicating, she started talking about her family, and he said, yes, your family's at the top of the mountain where the ship was. So he was saying that to get her motivated to go to the ship with him so he could get her out of there. But he lied to her, and what's interesting is that he actually tells her that in the middle of the movie when she starts freaking out, but she can't understand his words, so it ended up just being rendered pointless. And it's only until she gets to the ship at the end of the movie that she realizes that her family is gone. And it's this very emotional scene that I think the girl actress, I don't know her name, and Adam Driver acted out really well. Very emotional scene. And after Mills reveals in the best way he can what happened to his daughter to her, and she's been seeing holograms of his daughter the whole time because they have that kind of technology. She's seen some video clips of his daughter talking to him as he was flying throughout the galaxy. And so she knows of her, but she didn't really know that that was his daughter. And so he tells her what happened, and then that kind of gets her emotional, and then she hugs him. So it's a really nice moment, especially in the face of all this danger and intensity of the dinosaurs. Some really solid emotional moments in this movie that get you in the feels. Their characters' bond is really nice. Even this moment in the middle of the movie where after the girl has just been attacked by some dinosaurs, she's really scared and doesn't want to move forward. And he tries to connect with her by using this whistling sound that he can do with his hands over his mouth that he was trying to teach his daughter at the beginning of the movie. And she kind of does something similar with her fingers in her mouth using the whistle. So they connect with that. And again, it's like show, don't tell. They don't really talk a lot in the scene. It's just he tries to connect with her with that to get her more comforted. And then she's willing to move, as he puts it, because, they have to find different ways of communicating. And also I like how balanced the characters are. They save each other at multiple points during this movie. And I don't think any of the saves are oh, wow, there's no way that character could have actually done that. I feel like with what they've established in the movie, it works well enough. Okay, that's possible. That can happen. The girl is the one who does the main save at the end of the movie after Mills leads the T-Rexes away from her. One of the T-Rexes is about to get him, and then she stabs the T-Rex with this spike she found that she put poison berry juice on. So it was just cool to see the girl kick some butt in the movie in her own way, but she was still allowed to be vulnerable. She was still allowed to show emotion, genuine emotion at the death of her family, and a genuine emotional connection with Mills. And then they're able to escape on the ship because he sent out a distress signal at the beginning of the movie that alerted one of the other ships from his planet, and they came and got him before a meteor, the meteor that everybody says made the dinosaurs extinct, was about to hit the Earth. So you also have that driving force, that urgency as the movie's going on, because they see the meteor at the beginning of the movie is I wonder what that is, and then they slowly realize, oh, that's coming for us, so they got to get out of there. So great urgency, great emotion, great suspenseful, I don't know what a suspenseful is, suspenseful tension. Just solid filmmaking, solid storytelling, solid pacing, at least I felt. So all around, good movie. And I'm so happy I can say that, because I haven't been able to a lot of the time lately. But wow, I couldn't tell you guys how awesome it was to be able to finish the movie in theater, start to finish, it. The credits roll, and I'm yes, it's good. They didn't do anything that made me go, roll my eyes, made me go, oh my gosh, why did you do that? It was just solid filmmaking, good emotion, good tension. It capitalized on what the trailers made you excited for in the dinosaur action. It was Adam Driver kicks dinosaur butt. That's exactly what the movie was. and it was awesome. Thank you guys for watching my review. I'm glad I was able to review something that was different than Marvel, DC, or Star Wars. Not that I'll ever love those things anything less. It's just, it's cool when I can review an individual random movie and, you know, see how good it is. And this one was good, and I'm really excited. So thank you guys for watching. Have a very blessed day. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. That's a wrap.